Sign up today for a 7-day free trial at alerts.chartguys.com. Hey everyone, I'm out of time for the day, so we're just going to look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and their BTC pairings to see where we stand. So when we last checked in, we were looking at Bitcoin, watching the 3-day pattern, the tightening range. I like it more clear on the 3-day chart. And we are looking to see, can we hold the support level and form a higher low compared to 9651? And so far, so good for the bulls. They haven't quite made a 50% retracement, meaning from that high of 13,200 to the low. We haven't bounced halfway yet, and ideally the bulls want to get to that midway point to stay in this tightening range. I'd say if we can get a green day into tomorrow, the odds that we're going to see this range tighten into the weekend or at the end of the week are going to be pretty high. So we did have some notable events today, and I'll go a little bit over my style and how it all led up, just the timeline since our last video. So as you know, I was scaling into positions, and I had sell orders in case we went higher, and I had buy orders in case we dropped down lower. And I went out to dinner and went over to a friend's house, and we ended up dropping to lower lows while that was going on. So I had orders that were filling. That low was down at 10,200, and I had my orders under 10,000 psychological, and not many filled for Bitcoin. I did get at least one order, two orders total, 9,915, something like that, and another one a bit lower. But the bottom line is just continue to average down, and then I would have sold this little bounce, and that's what I did. So I didn't get this whole move. Again, me playing conservative, I'm scaling out when I get that 1 or 2%. For Litecoin to drop down, I got filled at 85.11. So same thing, I was scaling out into profit this morning. And then as we headed into the event, once we got the news that, the Secretary of the Treasury was going to be coming on and doing this live Q&A or press conference, essentially, that led me to say, okay, conservative me, I sell. I lock in my profit. The trade has gone according to plan. Starting to see the news make its rounds on Twitter. There's definitely overhead risk, headline risk, where if he says the certain thing, we dump 5% very quickly. So I can either take my profit right now and run and be conservative and have my mistake being leaving money on the table, or I can play aggressive, hold into that, and hope it's a bullish reaction. And in the end, it was a bullish reaction, and we made a short squeeze. So I exited. Again, I was scaling out on the way up, but I exited the last of my position in the low 10,500s. And again, I can look at this chart and say, oh man, shoulda, woulda, coulda. But I honestly don't feel that at all. And that's just because I, by choice, took the more conservative route. Because at this point, goal number 1 for me is to not give profit back. And goal number 2 is to slowly add some icing on the cake. So if you are playing aggressive, you are going to do something different. And it's probably either recognizing the increasing bull volume and the significant turnaround and trying to get in on that short squeeze, or just holding a position if you had one in the first place. So we're heading now towards my targets. Initially, I was looking for these bounces to be a little bit longer term. And again, that was me adjusting my game plan due to unforeseen circumstances and the potential negative impact that could have had. So congrats to the bulls that held through it, because now we're looking at, again, the attempt of changing some trends here. We had the 4-hour time frame very quickly consolidate into continuation, and we can look for more clarity on the 12-hour chart and see that anything under 11,950, anything under that's a lower high. So we're not changing this trend anytime soon. The best case scenario for the bulls, and what would make this pattern on the daily that's tightening prolonged into the weekend, in my opinion, would be if we can change this 12-hour trend. If we can pull off a higher low and higher high and head back into the mid to upper 11,000 range, that's when this 3-day pattern is going to continue to play out for quite a bit of time, in my opinion. And again, it'll look something like that, and then we'll look for a break into the weekend. But as always, we'll take it one day at a time. There's no need to make predictions. We get more information literally every hour, every minute. So there's no reason to try and guess with what's going to happen. We can determine most likely scenarios and then watch for the clues to see if that is how they are indeed playing out. If you are looking bearish, you are watching for potentially a couple things. The loss of the hourly uptrend could be a signal that you enter bearish on, or you could be more conservative and wait for a loss of the 4-hour uptrend, knowing that the 3-day time frame is forming that higher low, and we may potentially see another leg up into the mid $11,000 range. So for me, what's my game plan? I am sitting all cash aside from my long-term no-touch position, and I'm just fine with that. So I'm going to probably wait for this pattern to play out. And if we make our way up to the 11,500s, unless we see significant bull volume, I'm not going to FOMO. I'm not going to anticipate a bull break is coming. I'm going to watch for the potential of that tightening range. Let's see if that patience pays off, and let's see if I see anything in the short term that makes me change my mind. So Ethereum got absolutely crushed on this most recent leg down, and on the weekly time frame, we have now lost the uptrend. So that is very notable. These altcoins are still getting crushed comparative to Bitcoin. And again, for my style, I'm probably always going to diversify in this scenario to a solid chunk of Bitcoin, but one of either Ethereum or Litecoin, depending on what their Bitcoin pairing charts look like. Reason being, one of these times, we're going to see these names catch up, and we're going to see the Bitcoin pairings make a big move with the US dollar pairings. But I want to give myself some exposure for when that does happen. So looking at ETH, we got pretty extreme, and that's why I was confident down here. Litecoin was real extreme. We'll look at it in just a minute. But the daily RSI was just getting to oversold. Again, we're just looking for this bounce to give us a lower high. We had 6 days in a row of lower highs, and today's actually day 7 as the candle recently rolled over. But we're just looking for a daily lower high on this bounce. And if we look at it on the 12-hour time frame here as well, again, just looking for that lower high. Have to change 12-hour trends for this to be significant and have follow through. So the Bitcoin pairing for Ethereum still very weak. Another clear leg down, tight little range right now, but the 4-hour time frame has certainly been bearish. And again, there's just no bottom in sight right now. It's almost like a black dirt breakdown in the sense that the support level is so minimal. Bears are in full control. So Litecoin ended up having some decent volatility. And again, the 4-hour time frame was absolutely crushed down in the teens. And that's why I was comfortable scaling in. And we are still in a tight range here. We have resistance of 93.90 and we have the low of 84.88, but we didn't break 93.90, so it is still a tightening range to be watching. And if we can, I'm trying to find it on the time frame I like the best. Let's go to the good old 1 hour. So this could be an inverse head and shoulders pattern. So that definitely is one way to view this. After that base of support, trying for the higher low, and the bulls would have to break 93 and 93.90 at the same time if that were going to play out. Otherwise, again, 12-hour time frame, seeing how it compares to the other names, we haven't even really started this bounce comparatively. So if we look at, let's see, wrong one, LTC, BTC, it is weak as well and dropping down to lower lows. And bulls were clinging on the past few days trying to hold 8221 support. But here we are right on top of it and on the verge of potentially breaking it. So still no sign of any bulls on these Bitcoin pairings. And we'll see how long that keeps up. So at this point, Bitcoin bulls are in control of the short-term time frames. A loss of the hourly uptrend could be an early indication that the 12-hour temporary top is being set, and we have to then see 12-hour consolidation. But for me, again, just patiently sitting on the sidelines, if I were still in a position, I'd be pretty comfortable in just walking up a stop level or determining my game plan. Am I going to sit through a 12-hour high or low if that is how we have to see a longer-term bounce play out? Again, bears patiently waiting. I would be waiting for a loss of some signal because the reaction that we had, let's go back, I didn't even really talk about it. The reaction to the secretary was just a complete turnaround, and that ends up being a short squeeze because you anticipate the potential for bad news. And again, there's other fundamental sites out there. You got Nuggets News. They're going to talk about what was actually said a lot better than me. And to be honest, it's a glimpse inside of my mind when I'm trading. I don't care what the secretary said. I heard it, I listened to it, and I know the gist of it. But as far as the details and is this bullish or bearish and trying to dissect, the market tells me everything. It's bullish. And the market will always tell us everything. So I don't think my opinion as a YouTube influencer or anybody else's YouTube influence, aside from a few select names, really means anything, because if the chart is not aligning with what their perspective is on whether it's bullish or bearish or good news or bad news, it doesn't matter, because the only real thing is what the price is doing. So as of right now, the market certainly responded bullish, probably because they suggested some working together, and as long as we follow the rules. Again, I noticed a shift in the cryptocurrency space a bit where the mass adoption might muffle out the voices of the true OGs who want the secrecy and who want the freedom and all that, because it is heading towards a regulated world, and it is seeming like that's going to be okay with the majority of people that overwhelm into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And maybe that's where we head from here. We'll have to see. So that's all I got. Have a good rest of your night. Do good things out there. and I'll see you all tomorrow. We'll see if we can change that 4-hour trend over the next couple days. So the framing of our first bed is complete, and I figure with all this spare wood that we've got, might as well burn some and add some phosphorus and biochar to the mix. Ideally you want to do biochar in a ditch because that cuts off the oxygen. You don't want to burn the wood the whole way through. You want to leave it as almost charcoal, and then you just mix that into the soil, and it just creates further beneficial areas for all the little microorganisms and worms and things to work through. So with all this extra wood, gonna burn some of it and figure it can't hurt. Then we'll add manure and some rotting wood from around the property, and bed number 1 will be close to finished. So new update, I covered over the burn piles, spread them out, put some cardboard. I got excess amounts of cardboard, so probably don't need it, but figured putting it over the top of the sod will ensure 100% that it does not come through. Then I put some rotting wood on top of it. This half's already done. Got manure stacked on top of that. And then hay on top of the manure to keep the moisture trapped in and not let the bright sun bake out the beneficial microorganisms. Tons of insects and worms in there breaking the stuff down. Fill it pretty tall, pretty much to the brim, but should settle in. Gonna let it sit for at least a month and then do a fall cover crop. And that's pretty much one bed almost done. And then we're gonna do 2 more with spaces in between for carts to go. We're gonna dig out a path for a cart through this mulch, so that's gonna give us some good soil to work with as well. That's that.